In 1985, one of the biggest companies on Earth made a decision so shocking, people literally started hoarding bottles in their homes. Some hid them in basements. Some drove across states buying every last can they could find. Others called it a national tragedy. And all of this, because Coca-Cola changed its recipe. Not because it was poisoned. Not because it was unsafe. But because one of the most loved brands in history believed people wanted something better. What happened next became one of the greatest business disasters ever created by a company that was already winning. And the craziest part? The mistake almost destroyed Coca-Cola, while accidentally making it even stronger. This is the story of New Coke. Back in the early 1980s, Coca-Cola wasn't just a drink. It was America in a bottle. For nearly 100 years, Coke had built itself into something bigger than soda. It was tied to family dinners, baseball games, summer road trips, Christmas ads, and memories people grew up with. The brand was everywhere. And for decades, Coca-Cola dominated the soft drink world almost effortlessly. But behind the scenes, something was changing. A rival company was getting stronger. Very strong. Pepsi. At first, Pepsi was the smaller competitor. Coke was the giant. But Pepsi had figured out something important. Young people. Instead of selling tradition, Pepsi sold energy, pop culture, celebrities, and youth. Michael Jackson appeared in Pepsi commercials. Pop music blasted through their ads. Pepsi looked modern. Coke looked old. And then Pepsi launched something that completely changed the game. The Pepsi Challenge. It was simple. People were asked to taste 2 unmarked cups of soda and choose which one they liked better. Again and again, many people picked Pepsi. Why? Because Pepsi was slightly sweeter. And in tiny sip-sized taste tests, sweeter usually wins. The campaign exploded across America. For the first time in decades, Coca-Cola executives became genuinely afraid. Pepsi wasn't just competing anymore. It was stealing Coke's future. Inside Coca-Cola headquarters, panic slowly started growing. Executives stared at sales numbers, market research, consumer surveys, and the data seemed terrifying. Pepsi was gaining ground, especially among younger customers. Coca-Cola had spent nearly a century protecting the same formula, the same identity, the same taste. But now the company began asking a dangerous question. What if the product itself was the problem? That idea would change everything. So Coca-Cola secretly launched one of the biggest research projects in company history. Nearly 200,000 taste tests were conducted. People sampled different formulas. Again and again, the results showed something surprising. Consumers often preferred a sweeter version of Coke. And many even preferred it over Pepsi. To executives, this felt like proof. They believed they had discovered the answer. If people liked the new formula more in taste tests, then launching it should crush Pepsi completely. On paper, the decision looked brilliant. But there was one thing the research completely failed to understand. People weren't emotionally attached to a taste test. They were emotionally attached to Coca-Cola. And those are not the same thing. In April 1985, Coca-Cola made the announcement. The original Coke formula would be discontinued. A new version, a new Coke, would replace it permanently. The company was confident. Executives believed this would be remembered as a historic victory. Instead, it became chaos. Almost immediately, the backlash exploded. Customers were furious. Not mildly annoyed. Furious. Phone calls flooded Coca-Cola offices non-stop. Thousands of angry letters arrived. People protested publicly. News channels covered the outrage every single day. One man reportedly compared it to rewriting the Constitution. Another called it the end of America. Which sounds ridiculous. Until you realize what Coke represented to millions of people. This wasn't just sugar water. It was nostalgia, memory, identity, People felt like a piece of their life had been taken away by corporate executives in suits who didn't understand them. And the anger kept growing. Some people started stockpiling old Coke cans. Others refused to buy Coca-Cola products entirely. Restaurants complained. Distributors panicked. Meanwhile, Pepsi watched the entire disaster unfold like it was Christmas morning. Pepsi executives could barely believe what was happening. Their competitor had voluntarily detonated its own brand. For the first time ever, it genuinely looked possible that Pepsi could overtake Coca-Cola permanently. And inside Coke headquarters, fear turned into desperation. The company had spent millions creating new Coke. The research supported it. The taste tests supported it. Everything said this should work. But reality was saying something completely different. Because Coca-Cola had made a massive mistake that businesses still study today. They listened to data, but ignored human emotion. The company thought people bought Coke because of flavor alone. But customers weren't buying a liquid. They were buying familiarity, tradition, comfort. Coca-Cola had underestimated the emotional power of its own brand. And now the entire company was trapped in one of the biggest PR disasters in business history. For 79 days, Coca-Cola tried to survive the storm. 79 days of criticism. 79 days of public anger. 79 days of watching customers reject one of the most famous companies on earth. And then finally, Coca-Cola surrendered. On July 11, 1985, the company made another announcement. The original formula was coming back. Under a new name. Coca-Cola Classic. The response was immediate. People celebrated in the streets. News anchors smiled while reporting it. Customers literally cried with happiness. Sales surged. The company that had nearly destroyed itself suddenly experienced one of the greatest comebacks in branding history. And here's the weirdest part of the whole story. The disaster actually made Coca-Cola stronger. Because the backlash proved something priceless. People cared deeply about the brand. The failed launch reminded the entire world how emotionally connected they were to Coca-Cola. In a strange way, New Coke became one giant advertisement for original Coke. And over time, Coca-Cola recovered completely. Today, New Coke is remembered as one of the most famous marketing failures ever created. But it also became one of the most important business lessons ever taught. Because numbers can tell you what people choose. But not always why they care. A spreadsheet can measure taste. It cannot measure memories. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing a company can do is forget what people actually love about it in the first place.